Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. Now in today's we're going to look at various ways that we can split the pack. So we're going to be using the black to open the reds, the blue, the bulk colours. So stay tuned. If you can get into the reds and get the reds open, that'll give you much more opportunity to score and make bigger breaks. Okay, so on this first shot here, I've got a low black off the spot and I want to go into the reds. Now, this is great in this instance here because I've got a little gap where I can send the white into this gap of reds. Now, most players here are going to play this shot with a little tiny bit of right-hand side. So this is what we call helping side. Just sometimes it makes the pot for a player feel a bit more comfortable because it kicks the ball, kicks the black in this instance a little bit to the left. So when I'm aiming here, it's going to kick my black a little bit to the left. Don't really have to compensate for my aiming very much. And then also when I go into this pack of reds, the cue ball has got a bit more spin on it, so it's nice. So this is the one where you've really got to keep your head still. So I'm going bottom right like this, really keep your head still, go through it, go into that gap. As long as you've got that spin on, you can see that the white went into the pack, came away from the reds a little bit. I've left myself nicely on a red to the corner. Let's look at the pack if we're going in from a low black when the pack is flat. Now I've just set up a very flat pack of reds here. Obviously they're never going to fall exactly like this, but we want this nice flat back pack, as Willie Thorne used to call it. Now when you're going into these ones, the problem is if you screw off the red, so let's do that. If I play the screw shot again, so let's do it. So bottom right, same little screw shot, let's do it. The problem is, very often you come off the pack of reds and then that right-hand side actually sends us back towards the black cushion like that. So that's not very good. So let's have a look at the better way of splitting the pack from this position. So the better way to play this shot is to actually play it higher up on the cue ball and play it as more like a stun run through. Now, what I'm actually visualising in my mind is that the white is hitting the black and I'm playing the shot as if the white is going to run all the way around the table, like I'm running all the way around the angles. Obviously, that won't happen. The reds will get in the way. Now, this shot I still play with right-hand side because when the white hits this side cushion, I want the right-hand side to flick the cue ball up and back out into open play, and it will stop us getting stuck to this cushion. So if I've got this shot here, let's just put it a little bit lower. Yeah, if I've got this shot here, I've got this very flat pack. So I want to go right through the reds, higher on the cue ball this time, right-hand side, get right through it. When the cue ball hits that cushion, you can see that the cue ball spun off to the right. So you can see a much more effective way of splitting the reds when you've got that flat back pack. This next split using the black is a really nice one. This is when you land high on the black and you get the white to go off the black cushion and smash into all the reds and get the reds open. Now, this needs a little bit of side spin because if I was to just play this shot with just top, so I'm trying to hit on normally because of hitting with a bit of help inside. So if I hit just top and pop this ball hard, you can see the way, yeah, the white doesn't actually go into the reds. I've lost the cue ball because it took too long for the spin to take effect. So this is where we need right-hand side on the cue ball to make it go back into the reds. Right, so the side spin that we need here is right-hand side on the cue ball. So let's have a look. Now I've got to play, yeah, kind of middle-ish right, just a bit above middle. And then the problem is here, because I'm hitting the right side of the cue ball is going to get pushed over to the left, which will mean that I would miss the black thin if I'm not careful because that right will push the cue ball offline. So I actually have to think here that I'm going to aim the pot thick. I'm going to feel like I'm going to miss the pot, but then the side will push the cue ball out to the correct potting point and it will make the pot. Then I've got to keep nice and still, really execute my technique, try and ignore all the fancy stuff that's going on with the shot. So I'm aiming thick, I've got my right-hand side on, go through it smoothly. And then you see, yeah, the side sent me right back into the pack of reds there. I've got a nice red out in the open. I've got one here where I can get straight back to the black. So I've been able to go into the pack from a high black there, very effective using that little bit of right-hand side from this side of the table. We're now going to look at two ways of going into the pack using the blue ball. Now the first one is when you've got enough angle on the blue. So I've got quite a high angle, I'm reasonably far up the table, and I now want to go right into the pink and try and hold the white in the middle of the table. Now when I play this shot, I'm trying to go nice and low down on the cue ball. Again, I'm going to play that touch of left-hand side on the cue ball just because for lots of players it makes the pot feel a bit easy. It's going to kick the blue to the right when I play it, so no real compensation with my aiming. Keep nice and still, screw into the pink and hold the white. So it's very important here that you've got that little bit of help inside on. You're going right through the shot, don't move. And then you go right into that pink there. So I got a really, really good contact there. Slipped off them just a little bit, but I've really got the reds out in open play. That's now a fantastic chance to score. This second example on the blue is when we haven't really got as much angle. So it's when you're a little bit straighter. Now, when you're a bit straighter like this, it means that I can't really get the cue ball moving very fast down towards the pink. I've even set the reds up a bit differently here, so there's a bit of a gap so that even if I did catch the pink, it wouldn't necessarily get a really good split. So when you haven't got much angle like this, let's just get down on it. I'll be playing top left, so I want to go top left on the cue ball, pop the blue. Then when the cue ball gets reasonably close to this corner, it's going to spin round the corner and into these reds. Now, left-hand side, very useful here, just makes the cue ball accelerate a little bit more. So I've got to go right at the top of the cue ball, nice and smooth, get through it. So it goes off the two cushions, round into the reds, and I think if that one bounces off, yeah, it should have a nice red. So when you haven't quite got as much angle and you can't force it down in a direct line, think about using that running side there, which was left, send it round the corner and into that pack of reds. Now, another very common way of splitting the pack is using the yellow or the green. Now, I'm going to use the green in my example here. And first of all, I'm going to show you what can go wrong. So we're always going to use a bit of right-hand side. That's going to help the white accelerate when it hits this cushion. But then it's about finding the perfect height on the cue ball. So let's imagine I go to play this shot and I'm too low on the cue ball. So let's play it. So that's what happens if you go too low. I got too much spin on and then the white came wide and it actually went round the back of the black. Okay, now I'm going to have a look at what goes wrong if I don't get enough spin on. So let's say, okay, so right, I want to avoid that too much screw. I'm going higher on the white, still a bit of right hand side, hit through my shot and I've hit through it. But did you see that time the cue ball didn't have enough spin on, so it didn't grip enough and it came the other side. So I've got to get in between those 2 points and try and get the perfect split on the pack. Okay, so now I've got to try and get the shot right. So I've got to try and get the perfect amount of spin on the cue ball. Now, I knew that for me, this was a little bit too low, and I also knew that this was a bit too high, so it's got to be somewhere in between. But then it's also, the power is very important as well. The amount of spin you generate depends on how hard you hit it. So it's a lot of touch and feel. So I've got to go down into the shot here, make sure the pot feels good, get the right amount of spin on, hit the shot, keep still, and then hopefully I go nicely into the pack. I didn't see exactly where that went because I was just making sure I kept still for the sake of the head camera. But actually, as it happens here, I'm perfectly on a red to pop this one and continue the break. Now, a really good colour to use when going into the pack is actually the brown. So if you end up underneath the yellow or underneath the green with a nice angle on the brown, you can try and bring the white off the cushion and into the pack of reds again. Now, the common mistake here, I would say, so the big mistake I would say is that players go too low. So they're trying to go into the pack, a little bit of right-hand side, they're a bit too low on the cue ball. And the problem is, yeah, they go very, very close to that middle pocket there. So a player might go in off, or they bounce off the jaw like I did there. So you've actually got to hit much higher up on the cue ball and let the right-hand side do the work. Let's have a look. Okay, so when I'm playing this shot correctly, I know that, yeah, if I go too low like that, it's going to send me into that middle pocket. So I've actually got to hit a little bit higher up on the ball like this. And I actually feel like here that probably I'm aiming a little bit thin because I'm so close to the brown, the white is only going to push very thick into the brown, and topspin exaggerates that effect even more. So because I'm having to go above centre, I've got to aim a little bit thin, but then I've really got to, so I've got to miss that middle pocket, get the push through, make sure I go right through the white, get the right hand side on, and it's a very, very effective way of splitting the pack like that. I really like that shot because when the cue ball comes off the cushion, it goes into the reds with a lot of power. The cue ball has got lots of momentum. Again, you can see I've split the reds excellently, leaving me an excellent chance. So, as always, everybody, I really hope you found this video useful. Like, comment, subscribe, all the usual stuff. For anyone that's interested in any personal one-to-one coaching sessions, I'm working on this very table all the time, helping players to improve their game. All my details are in the description box below, so if you have a look there, contact me and I'd love to help you with your game. As always, thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Stay tuned for next week's video. Cheers.